Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om. We start with the Gita Dhyana shlokas. Bodhi, you want to start?
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
This is
Hari
my
Om
son.
Karthik. Hari
This is
Om
my son
Karthik.
Karthik. Yeah.
Hi.
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितान् पुराणमुनिनामुखे महाभारतम् अद्वैतामितवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीं मम भवतमनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवदेशिके नमस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धिफुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन तया भारततैलपूर्णप्रज्वालितज्ञानमय प्रदीपः प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तत्त्वैत्रैकपाणाय ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावदुग्धा गोपालनन्दन पार्थवत्स सुधीर्भुक्ता दुग्धं गीतमृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मोदरनुतटा जयद्रथजनकन्धारमीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपणवहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकुरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरनुनदीकैवर्तक केशव पारश्चर्यवचो षड्जममूलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यान कपीशरं हरिकथा समबोधनबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूवद्भारत पङ्कजं कलिमलवृद्धं शिनाश्रयासे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुनन्ति दिग्वैस्तवै वेदैः साङ्गकमलप्रशंसदय गायन्ति यं सामुगाः ध्यानवस्थित तद्गतेन मनुषा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यशन्तं न विदुषुरासुरगणदेवाय तस्मै नमः।
Sir, you're muted.
So yeah, so I'm quite often called. So this is not a criticism. Okay, this is just for fun. So I'm quite often called as a referee to judge Gita chanting in especially in the Chinmay Mission Bhagavad Gita. So the first thing that gets picked up is where is this student from? Right? It is called MTI, Mother Tongue Influence. So the moment Pramila ji chants, I don't have to listen. I know she is a Punjabi. Right? The moment Parthoda or Bodhi chant, I know. The moment Raghuji chants, the Nilotpala, the moment that comes, I know, okay, some Tamilian is speaking.
I'm a Kashmiri, incidentally.
So, but it's a strong Punjabi influence, or okay, it's the north. So the other is the Malayali when he says Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So it is a Malayali. so it's quite fun, And when we were learning with Gurudev, we all have mother tongue influences. Nothing wrong with that. But Gurudev was very strict on this. I mean, you should hear him chant. You don't hear a single influence of Malayalam. Hardcore Malayali, wrote in Malayalam, brought up in Kerala. And he learned under Tapovan Maharaj. And you know what is interesting? Tapovan Maharaj and Gurudev, they used to talk to each other, both from Kerala, both from very near each other. The villages were very near each other. And they used to talk to each other in Hindi. So, which is very unusual for the Malayali community. Typically, if you get two Mallus together, they immediately start off. So that was very unusual. Amazing personalities. Anyway, chapter 8, which we are going to begin today, is called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Akshara. Kshara means that which is prone to decay. Akshara means that which does not decay. That which is not going to decay. Now, all of us remember that the Bhagavad Gita has been divided into 3 segments, 1 to 6. What does 1 to 6 cover? Tvam, correct. Tvam, which means if I have really done introspection on 1 to 6 and the teachings of 1 to 6, practiced the things that have been told over there, I should have by now understood, or at least have a faint inkling of understanding of what I am. And the fact that at least I would have had this identification with the Anatman, which is what I am not. And I understand very clearly by now that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. Now in the next chapter, from chapter 7, he moves on to starting to explain, okay, now how do you interact with the world around you? Despite the fact that you know that you're not the body, mind, intellect, there is an existing world around you. Yeah, it's not denied. It's not the fact that, oh, the world suddenly vanished. No, it of course is there. So how do you interact with that world? How do you really perceive this world? What do you see when you see this tree in front of you? That is the question he's trying to answer. And therefore, in chapter 7, he ended with some technical terms. Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, etc., etc. In chapter 8, he jumped into explaining these terms, but not only explaining these terms, like as in everything in Bhagavad Gita, it is the Yoga Shastra also. So he also starts explaining how to apply these terms to us. What is very, very interesting is, and I always say this, that we have to remember that the Bhagavad Gita was recited in the middle of a battlefield, and it was not chanted, it was spoken, right? Krishna did not sing yada yada hi dharmasya. He declared that. He said yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. That is how he would have spoken, or at least that's what I think, right? And it couldn't have been singing. Neither did he say, okay, so now this is the end of chapter 6. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, right? It's a dialogue which is carrying on. It is Veda Vyasa. What is Vyasa? What does the word Vyasa mean?
Editor.
Correct.
Writer,
So,
editor.
editor.
Compiler.
Compiler, editor, typically editor. So when you say editor, he is the editor of the Vedas, because the Vedas were all in one in one mass. And it was not possible to learn them properly. And especially as he realized that people were getting more and more involved with the world, which is what Kali Yuga is. The movement towards from Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga is not that dharma is getting destroyed. The dharma itself changes. But what is happening is that we are getting more and more involved with the world. We are becoming more and more material oriented. And in that material orientation, our ability to be devoting time to this entire mass of knowledge is going to become lower. So you break it up and you divide it into various parts. So the parts of praise, Rik, were put together called Rig Veda. The parts of process were put together and put called Yajur Veda. The parts of music were put together and called Sama Veda. The parts of daily living were put together and called the Atharvana Veda. Right? This is how the whole Vedas got created. Similarly, when he compiled or wrote, okay, incidentally, what is the real name of Vedavyasa? Vedavyasa is a title.
Badarayana.
No. Badarayana means he who sits under a badari tree.
Oh, okay. No, it is a.
No, I think he had a.
He was that fisherwoman's son.
Correct. And he was born on an island. So now what's the clue? That was the clue.
Some Dvipayana.
Correct. Dvaipayana. And he was dark in color. He was dark in color. So Krishna
Krishna
Dvaipaya.
Krishna Dvaipaya.
Krishna Dvaipayana is the actual name. Krishna Dvaipaya is the son of Parashara, so he's Parasharya, right? Parashara, and so on and so forth. So all these names come from the way he, what we understand of him. So Vedavyasa, when he put together this Bhagavad Gita, or sorry, the Mahabharata, he was writing what is called itihasa. What does the word itihasa mean?
Thus spoken.
Thus it was.
As it was.
Literal translation. Thus it was.
It was.
And there are only two itihasas. And there are only two historians. Right? Valmiki and Vedavyasa. So then what about Tulsi Ramayana? Tulsi Ramayana is a poetic composition. And we are free. We have our culture allows you to do whatever, including allowing Devdutt Patnaik to write a Ramayana called Sita. So that's allowed, right? What is not allowed is to say my Gita, which is what he has done incidentally, which I have a protest against, but that's okay. So you have but what cannot change is the Vedas cannot change. The Upanishads cannot change. The Smritis change. The Smriti is the way you interact with the world. So where is this coming from? Where is Akshara Brahma coming from? Akshara Brahman is where he is describing to us Upanishadic truths and taking them in terms of application. So this is the preface or the preamble to understanding of chapter 8, Akshara Brahma Yoga. So it starts off very beautifully with Arjuna asking very intelligent and very important questions. Arjuna has moved. Tiranti mama gatrani brahmati me manaha. He is gone. That Arjuna is gone. That Arjuna has been removed. Now Arjuna is asking very, very important questions. Let us start with verses 1 and 2 together. Atha ashtamodhyayah. Atha ashtamodhyayah. Akshara Brahma Yoga. Arjuna Uvacha. Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatmam. Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatmam. Kim karma purushottama. Kim karma purushottama. Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatmam. Kim karma purushottama. Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. Adhidaivam kimuchyate. Adhidaivam kimuchyate. Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. Adhidaivam kimuchyate. Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatmam. Kim karma purushottama. Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. Adhidaivam kimuchyate. So we carry on with the verse number 2 also. Adhiyagya katham kotra. Adhiyagya katham kotra. Dehesmin madhusudana. Dehesmin madhusudana. Adhiyagya katham kotra. Dehesmin madhusudana. Prayana kale cha katham. Prayanakale cha katham. Yeyosi niyatatmabhihi. Yeyosi niyatatmabhihi. Prayanakale cha katham. Yeyosi niyatatmabhihi. Adhiyagya katham kotra. Dehesmin madhusudana. Prayanakale cha katham. Yeyosi niyatatmabhihi. Arjuna Uvacha. Uvacha means, obviously, we know that, said. Kim, what? Tad, that. Brahma, Brahman. Kim, what? Adhyatmam. What is this Adhyatma? What is this Adhi Atman? Adhi means to be over, super, right? To be beyond. So Adhi Atman, Adhyatmam. What is this beyond the Atman? What is this thing that you are calling Adhyatmam? Kim, what is karma? What is karma? O Purushottama. O best of men, what is this karma? Adhibhutam. What is this that is beyond or is the root cause, or what is beyond this material? Bhutam. What is beyond this bhutam? What is this word you used? Adhibhutam. Chakim proktam. Proktam means what is called. Called. Adhidaivam. Kim uchyate. What is this adhidaivam? Adhiyagya. You said something about adhiyagya. What is this adhiyagya? Katham. How? Ka. Who? Atra. Here. Dehe. In this body. Where is this adhiyagya in this body? Right? Or how is it in this body? Dehasmin. Inside the deha. Prayana kale. Prayana means to okay, prayana basically means at the time of departure. Now, contextually, we understand at the time of departure means at the time of death. Prayana kale cha katham, how, jneyosi, jneya, to be known, asi, or niyata atmabhihi, niyata, controlled, coming from the word niyam, niyata. Niyata means controlled. Atmabhihi, people who have controlled their minds. Atman here means mind, steadfast mind. So he's asking very simply that Purushottama, Krishna, what is this Brahman? What is this Adhyatma? What is this Adhibhuta? What is this Karma? What is this Adhideva? What is this Adhiyagya inside the body? And what is a person? How do I know you? How am I supposed to know you when I am at the doors of death? Now, are these not eternal questions? Are these not questions that one would need to ask if one has gone beyond the Charvak? The moment you have stepped out of Charvak, the moment you have said, okay, my regular living, day-to-day living, Rinam Kritva Gritam Pivet, I am so happy in whatever I am doing. I'm eating, sleeping, shitting, trying to protect myself, to protect my environment, I'm procreating, all of that. And then someday, you know what? That Markata Vairagya arises. The monkey jumps. Why? Oh, because your neighbor died. And the neighbor was a young chap and he got into an accident and he suddenly popped it. Now what happened? That's when you suddenly have this question. Now, unfortunately, most of us, the monkey will jump and then also come down. And very, very few people, the monkey will stay up. And the question will come, why did this happen? What will happen to this person? This person couldn't have been this body. Because the moment that guy left, I said, this is the body. So there was something beyond this body, which is obviously there. These questions, the moment they start acting up in our mind, we have moved away from Charvaka and have become what is called a Jignasu. We have started asking questions. The moment that Jignasa comes, not idle curiosity, curiosity towards what is beyond. When that Jignasa comes, you have started on your journey. These are questions of every person on the journey, right, for centuries, across cultures, across geographies, which is why we say Krishnam Vande Jagadguru, because he answers these questions. And these answers are eternal. These answers are true for all eternity, for all times, for all cultures, and hence he is the Jagadguru. So let us see what he says. Starts off by answering in verse number 3. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Aksharam Brahma Paramam, Aksharam Brahma Paramam, Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate, Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate, Aksharam Brahma Paramam, Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate, Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro, Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro, Visarga Karma Sanjitaha, Visarga Karma Sanjitaha, Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro, Visarga Karma Sanjitaha, Aksharam Brahma Paramam, Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate, Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro, Visarga Karma Sanjitaha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Bhagavan said, Aksharam, indestructible, Brahman is Brahman. Paramam, supreme. Svabhavaha, nature. Adhyatmam, one's own self. Uchyate is called. Bhuta Bhava Udbhava Karaha. Bhuta Bhava Udbhava Karaha. Actions pertaining to living beings and their development. Visarga, creation. So starting from creation and then their actions, all are karma. Karma, sanjita. Sanjita means are called. So he's saying that the supreme indestructible is called Brahman. One's own self is called the Adhyatman. And all actions pertaining to things that are happening in the material world, from this point of creation to the point of destruction, are all called karma. Now, what do we say? We say that ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. All of you know that, right? There is one truth and we call it by various names. This one truth that is called by so many various names, that one truth, firstly, we have understood in chapter 1 to 6 that there is something indestructible in me. How do I know that? I know that through the fact that I existed in all states. I existed when I was 3 years old. I exist when I am now 27, 25 years old. I will exist when I continue to be when I am 58 years old. Right? So using both of you here. Right? I'm using Karthik and Raghuji as the age is tentatively, whatever, you must be around that much. So, so using those numbers, that I sense hasn't gone, right? The I sense didn't change when I was angry, or I was tired physically, or so in my physical thing, I look at myself and I identify with it and I say, what do I say? I am fat. I am thin. I am ill. I am healthy, right? Or I identify with my things that are happening in my emotions. I am happy, I am sad, I am angry. Or I identify with things that I know and I say, I am a chartered accountant. I am an engineer. Actually, just look at it. Who told you, for that matter, I think I shared this last time, right? In the court, this person was asked, what's your name? And he said, I refuse to tell you my name because it is only hearsay evidence. Somebody told me that my name. It's not my name. How do I know? There is no evidence that I am this person. Now, that's exactly that. If we can just put our manan, if we can introspect on that, and you look at that, then you know that there is something indestructible inside us which has constantly been there, irrespective of our age, our size, our mental state, our emotional state, our physical state. It doesn't matter. That I existed. Right? That's chapter 1 to 6. We covered that. Using that chapter, he now tells you that identify that one indestructible thing, your own self, that which is indestructible in you is the Atman. Similarly, across this entire universe, there is this indestructible entity, which is the underlying for everything, and that is Brahman, Akshara. Akshara. But how can I understand it? Oh, I can't. How do you understand Akshara? You cannot understand Akshara. You cannot understand Akshara because you identify with the body, which is Kshara. You cannot understand Akshara because you identify with the mind, which is continuously changing. You cannot identify with the Akshara because you identify with your thoughts, which is also continuously changing. So your thoughts, your emotions, your body is continuously changing. You identify with it, you cannot identify it. So you need karma to understand that. And therefore he says, everything that is happening in this material world is karma. Look at that as merely the energy manifestation of Brahman. The energy manifestation of Brahman, the material manifestation of Brahman is nothing but karma. So, see, yes, please, Bhartada.
This karma Is it different from the karma in chapter 3, what we read? Because suddenly this definition is new. It was not there in chapter 3.
Thank you. Because now, see, this is the difference between chapter 3, that is chapter 1 to 6, and the jump to chapter 7. Now, what are we looking at? We are looking at karma at the cosmic level. In chapter 3, you were looking at karma at the individual level. So in chapter 3, I do karma. In chapter 8, karma is happening. You have already moved away from karma. See, you did karma sannyasa. In chapter 5, you gave up karma, no? Hopefully. So if you have given up karma in chapter 5, now then still things are happening. What is this that is happening? Oh, this is nothing but the material manifestation of Brahman.
Sir, I just have one question.
Yeah, sure.
So if we can't identify with the mind, we can't identify with the body because on the principle that it keeps changing, yet as we go through life, we learn not just physical stuff, we also learn spiritual stuff, which is supposed to help us go towards enlightenment. Aren't we also changing as isn't our soul also changing?
No,
can we identify with that in the same way? Because it is a change because you are more enlightened.
See, enlightenment is a 0-1 state. So you can't be more enlightened, right? So you must ask Raghuji for the pole vault example. So exactly what you're asking is the pole vault example, right? And it's an example that I always use. Everything that you do is in the material world. However, some things are propelling you to go towards a particular destination. And these words, okay, the words of experience, destination, these are all words that we are forced to use because of the limitation of our language, right? Because I cannot transmit an experience to you. I can tell you how to get to that experience. But what you will experience may be different from me, right? Because of the limitations of the sense organs that we are using. When we cross those sense organs, the experience is the same for everybody as defined by whatever we have heard and read from all the great masters who have talked about it. And even they're talking about it. Example, see, the word experience brings about 3 things that need to exist, right? What are the 3 things? Karthik, this is for you. Others know the answer. What are the 3 things that need to exist?
So in order to experience, what are the 3 things to exist?
If I say that there is an experience, there have to be 3 things that have to exist.
You should be able to sense it. So
the experiencer.
The experiencer. So you should be able to sense it.
Okay.
There has to be some change in the environment. So there has to be some event or something.
So the act of experiencing.
The act of experience. And
the thing that is.
And the thing that's been experienced.
And the object that is experienced, right? Now, in the state of non-duality, there can't be 3. There can only be 1. Right? But even somebody as great as Shankaracharya finds a limitation, and he therefore says, aparoksha anubhuti, direct experience. The words are contradictory to each other. When you say direct experience, you're saying that there is only 1. But then the moment you use the word experience, and that's a limitation of our language. So again, to use the word destination, to use the word progress, and so on and so forth, the pole vaulter gives up the pole and only then crosses. Right? So all of this that we are doing, the process of what we are calling this satsanga, is the process of purification, of removing layers of desires, layers of past experiences that I am carrying with me, which are preventing me to go forward. I am not going to change. It's just that the lamp inside is not visible today because you have layers on top of it. And all this that we are doing is scrubbing. And then when you scrub through the last layer, the lamp will shine on its own. You don't have to reach the lamp. The lamp is there. It's already shining. Right? And this is very unfair. Karthik cannot jump into a conversation in the middle. He's boring everybody else to death. No, I'm just pulling. Karthik, I'm just pulling a leg.
Sorry.
No, I'm just pulling a leg. Everybody, I'm sure this is a good revision for everybody, including me. Right.
So, if you, again, I'll point out to that video which I had shared with you. In that interview, my brother actually brings out the limitation of language. He says, he says, I can describe the sensation of sweet taste. I can talk about sugar. I can do all of that. But I cannot give you the experience of sweet taste. All I have to do is to give you a crystal on your tongue, and you know what sweet taste is. So this is the limitation of language.
That's a limitation that we live with all the time, right? I mean, okay, so just take a flight experience of a flight. All of us have used an aeroplane some time or the other, but take somebody who's never been in an aeroplane and try and describe a flight to him. I mean, in his reality, what flies is called a bird. So all he's going to be able to relate to is a bird, and he's never been a bird. So he's going to say, okay, so the world will look like as if it is looking, I'm looking from the terrace of a building. No, it's not like the terrace of a building. Now jump up from the terrace of a building to 50,000 feet higher than that. Oh, how can you do that? Do you see where we're going, Karthik? Right? So, carrying on. He says in verse 4, Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha, Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha, Purushashchadhidaivatam, Purushashchadhidaivatam, Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha, Purushashchadhidaivatam, Adhiyagyohame vatra, Adhiyagyohame vatra, Dehe deha britambara, Dehe deha britambara, Adhiyagyohame vatra, Dehe deha britambara, Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha, Purushashchadhidaivatam, Adhiyagyohame vatra, Dehe deha britambara. Adhibhutam, the ever-changing physical manifestation, is kshara. It is perishable. It decays. It will be reborn again. It will be jagat. Jagat means the three terms, jagata, jayati is born, gatati goes, and between the ja and ga, it will be staying for some time. It is called tishtati. So jagat itself means that which is ever-changing. Adhibhutam ksharo bhava. Purushashchadhidaivatam. Purusha is adhidaivam. Adhidaivam. Purusha here means, what does Purusha would mean here? By now you should have got the drift. So what does Purusha? Anybody? You're on mute.
Atman, Parabrahman.
So he has already told you that the Adhyatman is your indestructible self. Then what is this Adhipurusha?
Not self.
We've already got the answer in chapter 7. So that's why I'm asking. I'm not going to ask you something that you don't know.
Is it the soul?
Okay. What is a Devata?
That shines. That
So what
which
is the
shines
Devata?
our senses. Our
Correct.
senses.
So what is the controller of the senses?
Indriya.
So what
Indriya
is
senses.
Indriya is senses. What controls the senses? Sorry?
The mind.
Mind. What controls the mind?
Intellect.
Intellect.
So what is Adhipurusha?
Intellect.
So here he is very clearly bringing out all the three. Have you seen that? Adhibhuta. Where in you, what is the Adhibhuta? The body. By referring to Adi Daiva, by Adi Daiva, What is he talking about? He's talking of your mind and your intellect. The controllers of the body. The controllers of the body. The identifier. Now here is the beauty here. See, in Advaita, we ignore the body. We say the body is jada, the body is inert, the body has no result. It is only a vehicle. Don't get stuck with the vehicle. So we don't even talk about anything in the vehicle, right? The whole of Advaitic practices begin with the mind. In Chinmay Mission, in Gurudev's practices, he says, look, while it is very good to say that you can ignore the body, you can't because you identify with it. So some bits of yoga is also necessary. This is the proof for Gurudev at least. This is the proof where he says, look, even Krishna says, you have to talk about the body, you have to talk about the mind, and you have to learn how to control all three of them. When I say mind, it is manas and buddhi. The English word mind encompasses both. And then he says, Adhi Yagya. Adhi Yagya. What is Yagya? Chapter 4, verses 24 to 32.
Yeah.
What is Yagya?
It's a sacrifice. The actions.
Actions. Adhi Yagya. Controller of, superior to all the yagyas. What controls and all actions? The creative force, life force alone, right? Without life force, there cannot be any actions. Life force, which is permeating through everything in this universe, is that which is controlling actions in this universe. Now we have moved away from the individual at chapter 4 to the cosmic level. And say this yagya that is going on, this whole concept of yagya that is going on, everything is a yagya, everything is going into, ultimately, in chapter 11, we will see him consume everything. Right? Oppenheimer, for example, the famous quote. Right? I am that all-devouring time. We see that all being consumed there. This is a yagya. In this superior yagya, who is that controlling force of that yagya? It is nothing but that life force, that creative force. Now, what is this creative force? We have seen earlier, he has talked about the creative force as his lower energy. Right? We have seen Purusha and Prakriti, he has mentioned both. And he has said that Prakriti, the creative life force, that which is the material, which is present in everything here as the life force, is my energy alone. So here he has declared the universality. And where is it found? Oh, it is very simple. It is found inside you also. It is inside you, Dehesmin. So he takes the Upanishadic truths of all pervading. What does Ishavasya Upanishad begin with? Raghuji? Ishavasya idagam sarvam. Ishavasyam idagam sarvam. Everything that you see is the vasa of Isha. Isha being the controller. Isha meaning the controller. The exact word is controller. Isha means controller. So Ishavasyam idagam sarvam. Everything that you see is nothing but the manifestation of that one living thing. That is the only living thing. Everything is only a manifestation of that. So the whole concept of Advaitic truth, of oneness, has come out in these two words, in these two senses. How do I use this? This is fantastic. Very nice. I'm thrilled by this. I understand that, at least intellectually, that these 5 people I can see, and the 6 people who is on invisible board, all of these 6 people are nothing but me. I have intellectually understood that. I'm thrilled with this. And honestly, I'm thrilled. I mean, when we were first doing this chapter, it was like getting goosebumps when you get this understanding. But how do I use it? So in the next chapter, he tells you how to use it. Next shloka. Very much in the next shloka itself, he says, Antakale cha mam eva. Antakale cha mam eva. Smaran muktva kalevaram. Smaran muktva kalevaram. Antakale cha mam eva. Smaran muktva kalevaram. Yah prayati samadbhavam, ya prayati samadbhavam, yati nastyatra samshayah, yati nastyatra samshayah, yati yah prayati samadbhavam, yati nastraya samshayah, antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram, ya prayati samadbhavam, yati nastyatra samshayah. Antakale, at the time of death. Cha and mam, me, eva, alone, smaran, remembering, muktva, relinquishing, kalevaram, body, yah, who, prayati, goes, saha, he, madbhavam, becomes me, attains me, becomes like me, yati, achieves, na, no, asti, there is, atra, here, samshaya, doubt. So he says, there is no doubt about the fact that if you depart from your body, remembering me, you will attain me. Now, is this logical? Is it enough for me to say Ram, 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 Ram at the time of death? So Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa very clearly says, yes, absolutely true. He uses the story of Ajamil. And he says very clearly at the end of the story, he says, don't sing this all the time, don't disturb him. Poor chap, he's lying down, having his legs pressed by Lakshmi, or he's sitting in dhyana, being fanned by Parvati, or he's discussing some Vedic philosophy with his wife Saraswati. Why are you disturbing him by calling on him? Just at the time of death, just call him. Everybody around him started clapping. Arey wow, aisa Guruji chahiye. Yeah, don't sing bhajan all the time, don't do good deeds, just at the time of death. And then he says, so in Bengali, he used to use colloquial Bengali. So he said, "Tu kabe morbi re? When will you die?" Now, the fact that we don't know when we will die is therefore it is constant. It has to be constant. Right? I mean, I used to sell life insurance. I used to say that it's an uncertain certainty. It's certain that you're going to die. The only thing that I don't know about the fact is when. So get prepared. In the material world, you get prepared by buying life insurance. I buy better things. I buy immortality insurance. Buy that immortality insurance. So the challenge is what happens. And I've told you about Ayo, na? Ayo? Right? I've told you the story of Ayo, no? So Jagat Pita, Jagat Mata were going. They were sitting on Nandi and they were going. Right? Pramilaji, you don't remember the story? Right? So when he was falling, they decided, we will save you. One said, if he calls Amma, I will go. But the other said, if he calls Appa, I will go. But when he fell, he said, Ayo. Because that was his habit. That was his habit. So when your death is approaching, which is a point where we don't know when is it that going to happen, it could happen tonight for any one of us. It could happen the next second for any one of us. At that point of time, what is there in your subconscious? What is there in your conscious? What is it that you are thinking of? Where is your emotion? Is where you will go. And it's a challenge, right? Others in this group have done this practice. Karthik, you should try this. Think of Rasgulla for 15 minutes. Now, when I say Rasgulla, Rasgulla is my allegory for something that you desire. Right? And for me, it's Rasgulla. Okay, so think of Rasgulla for 15 minutes deeply. Imagine the texture, imagine the taste, imagine the flavors, imagine it, see it in your mind just before you're going to sleep. And I can give you a guarantee that when you wake up, the first thought that hits your mind will be Rasgulla. And we've all done this practice. Now, if for the little death called sleep, that is what is going to happen, then for the big death, of giving up the body, what is going to happen? The same thing, extrapolation. It's just extrapolation. So here very clearly he says, remember me at the time of my death, you will become me. Now, I cannot do that unless I have practiced that constantly. Hence, in the next shloka, he repeats that very clearly. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, tyajyatyante kalevaram, tyajyatayante kalevaram, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, tyajyatyante kalevaram, tam tam meveti kaunteya, tam tameveti kaunteya, tada tad bhava bhavitah, tada tad bhava bhavitah, tam tameveti kaunteya, tada tad bhava bhavitah, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, tyajyatyante kalevaram, tam tameveti kaunteya, tada tad bhava bhavitah. Yam yam, whatever, va or api, even, smaran, remembering, bhavam, remembrance, thing that is being remembered, tyajati means gives up, ante, in the end, kalevaram, the body, tam to that, eva, certainly, eti, gets, reaches, kaunteya, sada, always, tat, that, bhava bhavitaha, absorbed in contemplation. So here he declares exactly what we were talking about, saying that whatever you are remembering at the time of your giving up the body, that is what you will become. There is a very, very interesting story on this of a very famous Rishi. Anybody remembers? We have brought that Rishi into our discussions a number of times. Okay, clue. Deer.
He had a son and he calls out for him.
No, that is Ajamil. Deer. All of you are getting to be bad students. Deer is Jadabharat. The story of Jadabharat. Jadabharat, the Rishi was Bharat. He was Jadabharat because when he gave up and we renounced, people came and tried to get him out from his renunciation. And he sat there for 44 days without moving, without that sort of austerity. In his ashram, across the river, he was watching. And there was this pregnant deer which was attacked by a tigress. And the moment the tigress attacked, this out in that moment of adrenaline burst, this girl, this deer, he gave birth. The tigress took the deer and went away into the jungle, leaving behind the baby fawn, which at that point of time had just learned how to stand up, right? So he went across the river, picked it up, brought it, and then for the rest of his time, all the time, what would he think about? Oh, where is my deer? Where is my deer? Where is it gone? Has it eaten? I can't hear its clip-clop on the hoof of the hoof. And then when he died, what happened to him? He became a deer. But because of the other vasanas of wanting freedom, mumukshatva was there. He realized that he's got trapped. So he started going around the Rishi ashrams, listening to Upanishadic truths again, and then again got into another human body, went through his tapas again, and then got free. The story of Jadabharat is a clear example of what happened to a Rishi. हम लोग तो कितने रसगुल्ले लेके जाने वाले हैं, right? Just look at the bag that you have. How full is it? All the various types of rasagullas, flavored ones, unflavored ones. Diabetic rasagulla, new one that you've come across, right? We have so much of variety in our bags. Unless that bag is shed, and the only way to shed that is by saying, by continuously tuning our mind, manas and buddhi, to remembering that constant. Now that constant, to remember, we can't get into saying, oh, I remember Brahman, everything is Brahman, everything is Brahman. It doesn't work with us, right? Because we are still not free from our senses. So the karma yoga practice that we have been doing takes us there to get us away from what is called kartritva bhava. Because we have got rid of kartritva bhava, we get rid of bhoktritva bhava. And because we are no longer identifying as the enjoyer, is when you can sit down and do dhyana. Only then can you understand this. That is why this whole chapter from 1 to 8. Yes.
So one of the things I was thinking about this week, the location of the Bhagavad Gita is in the middle of a battlefield. Now, the battlefield is considered to be, you basically you are threatened, your life is threatened at every moment on the battlefield. And yet, Krishna imparts this knowledge with the instruction to calm the mind, to basically do your action detached completely. It's such a, how do you say, it's probably the biggest challenge. But then I looked at life is equally challenging to keeping your concentration on the Parabrahman. There are so many challenges that keep blasting you. It is not just actual challenges, even relationship issues, everything that draws you away. So, in fact, I was just thinking that this is by putting it in the middle of the battlefield, he's kind of saying, I'm putting it in the worst situation, I still expect you to do this. Then in normal life, you should do it. Okay. But I just wonder, how can Krishna be Nitya Brahmachari and Vasishta be Nitya Upvasi while still living in the world and enjoying all the things? How are they able to do it? It's mind-boggling.
So obviously the answer is practice. But we do it in our day-to-day life also. Karthik, what sport do you play?
I used to play tennis in high school. Right now, I just go to the gym a lot. That's it.
Okay, at school.
High school. Tennis.
Tennis. So in tennis, when you play tennis, do you keep looking at the scoreboard or do you look at the ball?
The ball.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get into the game to win, of course, but you don't look at the scoreboard. No footballer keeps looking at the goalpost. He looks at the ball. And he plays with the ball to the best of his ability, trying to push the ball into the goalpost. But he looks at the goalpost only when he is near the goalpost. Till then, he's only looking at the ball. For that matter, the goalkeeper doesn't even look at the goalpost. He looks only at the ball. That's what his job is. And he does it. Swami Vivekananda used to say this. I don't want people sit down and do this false thing called meditation. I would rather have them go out and play football. It is far more spiritual than sitting here with your legs crossed and your eyes closed and you're thinking of what mutton biryani is going to be coming for me for my dinner. I'd rather have you play football. Swami said that. So again, see, unless we have gone that specific journey, karma yoga, jnana karma sannyasa, dhyana, jnana vijnana, only then Akshara Brahma can come. The whole journey, jumping to Akshara Brahman, right? Jumping into a conversation completely out of context is not going to help us to understand that dialogue. And not making any snide comments about Karthik jumping in right now. But all of this is available on on recording, so you can, if you are interested, you can go through the whole sequence, so you can catch up.
He has
right?
access to the recording.
Yeah.
Checked it out.
So,
Somewhere.
so the whole idea here is that progression has to happen. Unless I do karma yoga, which is why he starts off very clearly saying that get your goal, set your goal. I'm not against your goal. Just don't think that you have control over it. You have no control over the goal. There are external situations around you which are not in your control, and they will therefore maybe prevent you from taking your goal. But however, do your best. And that's all I ask from you. Until that has happened, I can't move to the next level, which says, fine, forget the goal also for a moment and only look at the process. Then only can I go ahead to the next level and say, oh, the game's just happening. I have been part of it. I've got pulled into it. And I'm playing. If I win, great. If I don't, it's great. I don't even have a goal to play. I'm just here to run around, have fun. It's when that equanimity has come, is that when we can sit down. Then he says, okay, fine, put out your kusha, put out your ajina, put out your cloth, sit in a place, sit in one place. He doesn't tell you to do all that beforehand.
Yeah. That's chapter 6.
Only after we have mastered chapter 6 of, how many are at 45 minutes now? Okay, one person.
So I'm doing it. It varies. Sometimes it's 40, 45. Sometimes maybe even more than 45. Actually, the less focused I am, the longer it takes.
Exactly. See, that's the point, isn't it? That's exactly the point. Because the more you focus, is the more you are centric to yourself. The whole idea is to get rid of that I and keep your mind and your breath on that only one thing called Soham. And when that just now starts happening, is when you have reached Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Yes, please.
For me, this two things I want to tell you. One about the 45 minutes meditation. I told you about keeping an alarm to the situation when that was not bothering me. I was not waiting for the alarm to ring. But then one realization has come. I used to do from 12:15 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
But then it used to be difficult even at that hour. I am nowadays doing about 5:15 in the morning, early morning, after getting up from bed to 6 o'clock. I don't keep an alarm because Anita is sleeping. So I don't keep an alarm. And believe me, my meditation breaks between 40 and 45 minutes on its own. I know that now it is time. So I open my eyes and I see that. So what I'm telling, the time of the day perhaps also has some bearing on the meditation. Number one. Number two, this remembering Krishna at the time of death. That is good. Lord Ramakrishna said, you do not know when you will die, so you remember him always. That is one side of the story. Generally, we remember God when we, even in our scriptures also, shlokas, we are always asking for something from God. Even give me moksha, that also is asking. Something we are asking. We don't say, so Lord, I am only calling you for the sake of calling you, for your good. No. We want something.
Sorry,
So,
interrupting.
Yeah.
When we chant Vishnu Sahasranam or Lalita Sahasranam, we say, we chant for pleasing you. That's all.
Okay.
Not for getting
Good.
something.
Yeah, but I'm saying normal mortals like me. I'm talking about that. Now,
Good. Thank you for calling me abnormal.
Yeah. Now the question is, I have an interpretation here. When you look at the Bhagavad Gita as a whole, I don't remember Krishna at all. I live by the principles he laid down for me. And I strictly follow that. I think that should be good enough for me, even if I don't remember him at the time of death. I want an answer to this question.
Okay. So when we say that remembering Krishna is not remembering the form of Krishna. Krishna does not identify himself with that form. So he is not Mor Mukuta Pitambara Vastra Vaijanti Mala Kasturi Tilakama. Beautiful description. Nasagre Mautikamani Jagannath the Puri Jagannath Puri, the description it starts with Nasagre Mautikamani. There is a beautiful nut that he wears over there, right? So the beautiful descriptions. It's not the description, that physical form. It is that consciousness about the fact that this entire universe is nothing but him. That's all. To go back to the earlier question or rather the observation that you brought in, yes, time, state of body, state of mind will, in the initial period, will have a bearing on the quality of the japa that you are doing. Incidentally, this is not meditation, that is not dhyana. Meditation is a large word. It's a English word. It encompasses what we are talking. But what we are doing is called japa. It is the japa of Soham. So you're doing japa of Soham. What are you actually doing? You are retraining your mind to sit in one place. Earlier, your mind was untrained. It was running all over the place. You are retraining your mind to sit in one place. That's all you are doing. Now, obviously, because we identify with the body, we identify with time, right? For what does he say in chapter 6? He says that I knew the past, I know the past, I know the future. Time is irrelevant for him, right? At that state, people like Tailanga Swami, people like Gurudev. Gurudev announced his date, right? He announced his date. Of those of you who've seen on a quest, all of you know, he announced his date. He didn't tell everybody that was his date, but with Swami, with Puja Guruji, the way he talked with him, the way he talked with that girl about the photographic opportunity, it was clear he knew his date, right? So time was irrelevant for these people because there is no past, there is no future. Brahman exists irrespective of time. So time is only a material change that is happening. Material changes don't affect Brahman. But you and I are not at Brahman state. We are all physical state. So the physical state obviously is going to cause problems. If you have a tremendous headache, can you detach yourself from that headache and sit down and say, I'm going to do Soham meditation right now? Right? So that's therefore, obviously, that is going to impact. The fact that when you wake up early in the morning, the energies of the surrounding air itself are conducive. There is less noise, right? You are fresh because your stomach is empty. By the time at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, already one breakfast has happened, one tea has happened, right? There are things in the stomach.
One thing I must confess, this mind is full of thoughts. But I am not worried about that. I say let them come and over time it will go. But full of thoughts, income tax, this, that, everything comes at that time. I don't know why, but it keeps on coming.
So whenever it comes, learn to just pull back your mind into your manas and buddhi, back to Soham.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So how long, Karthik, are you going to be in town here?
I'll be here for another 2 weeks and then back again a week after that.
So he's here for a couple of weeks. Then he goes to India for a week, comes back another week here. So total period of this break is one month.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay, let's end. Any other things? Okay. Shanti Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. You will no longer get Zoom recording. You will get a YouTube channel link.
The YouTube channel link doesn't allow us to download because I'm keeping a complete repository actually.
Your your tech expert is sitting next to you. Ask him how to download from YouTube.
You can.
There's
Go ahead.
there's something called a YTD, YouTube downloader, right? The
Okay.
free version allows you to do one download a day,
Oh, okay.
and you can easily do that. Use that to download. The reason is I mean, if I put it up on YouTube, I don't have to keep it on my drive, and there's a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
Yeah.